under fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to a special Saturday impromptu edition of the American Hotspur. And of course, it's absolutely warranted as the captain, Son Heung-min, has decided to step away. And I'm sure that with every Spurs fan, I'm sure there's no surprise that that press conference ended up happening this morning in Seoul, South Korea. So, of course, I absolutely had to get on the air at some point today. And so I figured, why not? Let's just go ahead and get into it because I think the realization has absolutely hit. It's gone from absolute rumor. It's gone from speculation into an absolute reality. And of course, we're going to get onto the back end of it as well, too, from, an American standpoint, because the rumor is more than just tangible. It is absolutely, I wouldn't say a guarantee, but it's looking more or less like he's going to end up in Major League Soccer. So we're going to talk about that as well, too. So before we get into it, go ahead and make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons because we are on a race to 1,000 subs. And the quicker we get there, the cooler that we can kind of do stuff with this channel, live streams, fan shows, things like that. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. All right. So this morning, as I woke up, and my notifications started getting absolutely crazy, I came to the realization that Son Heung-min had decided to step away from Tottenham Hotspur. And of course, I think we all understood that this was going to happen. Word came out that he was contractually obligated to be on this Asian tour as the Spurs set their sights through Hong Kong and South Korea. But that is pretty much going to be it. There's not necessarily going to be an N17 send-off, as the set-off looks like it's going to be in his home country of South Korea. And this is actually kind of interesting because for those that don't know, in the United States with Major League Soccer, the summer transfer window closes shut at 9 o'clock Eastern time on August 21st. So it gives both Spurs and LAFC or whatever Major League Soccer team at least a little over 3 weeks to get some sort of deal done in order for those two teams to facilitate that type of deal. Right now, I guess you can say Sonny is absolutely under the gun to try to get something done. As he has, said during this press conference that he's looking for a new challenge. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and take a look at it real quick because he did say a few things in this press conference. He said it was the most difficult decision of his career. I have been here for nearly 10 years. It's a beautiful club with the beautiful fans. I have such amazing memories. And I like this because, to be honest with you, man, he's kind of stepping outside himself a little bit, acknowledging the fans, acknowledging the clubs and those two roles in their Spurs career, which is absolutely classy. He goes on to say real quick right here that he came to North London as a kid, 23 years old, a very young boy who couldn't speak the language. I leave this club as a grown man. Thank you to all the Spurs fans who have given me so much love. Absolutely classy from Son Heung-min. And I think for me, not only do I have a profound respect for Sonny, not just the career, but the things that he did during his tenure at Spurs. Firstly, let's just understand that as others came and went, he stayed. And I think that speaks volumes to the dedication that he actually had to the club. Because, over the course of his time at Tottenham Hotspur, some names left, some came, but the results were still the same. And he kept pushing for that trophy. When Harry Kane left, I think that was kind of a seminal moment, understanding exactly now all of a sudden Sonny's on an island, and now it was going to be even more difficult to get that trophy. But sure enough, last season in a season of chaos, the prophecy came true as Son Heung-min was able to help lift the Europa League trophy, and all of a sudden now he leaves N17 as champion. One of the things that I think we saw last season, though, and Adrian, I do appreciate there in the chat. We're going to pull that up in just a second. One of the things that I think we noticed last season was that the Sonny of old was no longer able to compete at the Premier League level. I think that was kind of obvious. Now, originally when I saw it, I was kind of questioning whether or not he was actually healthy. Maybe Sonny was, playing through some injuries. And then eventually he did go down for a couple of weeks towards the end of the season. But that being said, this summer, I think I think it was plain to see that when he was on the pitch, he just did not look like the same player. And I had been on other programs as well, too, saying that the one thing that I did not want to see was Sonny become a parody of himself, because it would be the ultimate form of disrespect. Him trying to hang on when he knew himself that he probably just cannot do it at this level anymore. And there's no shame with that. One of the things that I think Spurs fans were saying was that it should be Sonny's decision. But that being said, you also have to recognize that the club plays an important role in this, right? And it is the club's fiduciary responsibility to make sure that this decision actually does not stretch out. That a decision absolutely has to be made for the betterment of the club. Yes, of course, Sonny has to agree to it. He's the player, and the Spurs just can't terminate contract or ship him off to Saudi Arabia without his approval. Obviously, both have an equal parts decision, but from a club standpoint, they have to make the best decision that's good for the club. And there's an old saying, right? And that saying is, it's better to get rid of a player 1 year early, unless it's 1 year instead of 1 year too late, when there is absolutely no value left in the player. And they could have just gone through the season and let the chips fall exactly where they might lay. And who knows exactly how that was going to play out. But I think Sonny recognized it himself that maybe, just maybe, this was it. And I think when you're trying to connect the dots, I think this decision was made toward the end of last season, because some of the things that he was saying, it almost sounded like he knew that it was the end. And of course, he alluded to that a little bit in the press conference today, where he mentioned that after the high of winning the Europa League, I think he had some time to think to himself, and I think he realized that regardless of how he words it, regardless of that, I think the reality was that I think he said something about he needs a new challenge, but the reality is I think he realized that he can no longer do it at that insane level of what it takes to be in the Premier League. And I know fans out there are going to talk about Mohamed Salah, but guess what, man? Not one player is ever created equally, right? You're like, Father Time catches up to everyone in a certain extent, and some happen earlier than others, some happen later than others, but eventually, the rubber's going to meet the road, and that tread on that tire is going to work, is going to wear down to a point where you're going to have to look at yourself in the mirror one day and actually tell the hard truths. And I think for Sonny, those truths, 100%, he knew those answers, and I'm glad that he was able to announce it. And I'm glad that He's showing the class that not only does the club deserve, but also the fans as well too. Because I mean, you know, when you come to Sonny, we start talking about some of these memories, and you know, without a doubt, he is a club legend. Now we're going to get into, you know, what type tier legend that he is, because I don't necessarily think that he's on the legend of you know, some of the greats. But that being said, there's no doubt that he's going to be a Spurs legend. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and hit the chat. And we have Adrian, Spurs diehards, TTID. Adrian, I hope you're doing well today. He goes on to say, "Good evening, Steve. Good evening to you, sir, and I hope you're enjoying your Saturday evening." Yeah, I mean, Adrian, good guy, man. Love Adrian. Wayne Bonner, good evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. Fair play to Son for his decision. Wish him all the best. You and me both. You and me both, Wayne. Let's see. We have Adrian checks in and he says, you know, Son in the Premier League appearances, 337 appearances, 127 goals, 77 assists. Champions League, 55 appearances, 19 goals, 5 assists. FA Cup, 30 with 14 goals, 12 assists. In the Europa League, 26 goals, 9 assists. In the League's Cup, 26 appearances, 9 goals, 5 assists. Yeah, like, listen, man. The dude's ridiculous, man. Dude's ridiculous. I would probably say that in the modern age of Spurs, probably from 2000 to today, over the course of the last 25 years, I think there's really only 3 names really that stick out, you know, that stick out that far. One of them obviously is Sonny. The other one's Harry Kane, and maybe you know, maybe Gareth Bale probably sticks out as well too. And that's no disrespect to the other great players that have played in this. I guess you could say this modern age of the Premier League. And of course, that's not, you know, that's not excluding the greats of the past. You know, Martin Shivers, Bobby Smith, and all those guys. But that being said, when you look at the, over the course of the last, you know, 25 years, obviously Sonny, you know, Sonny's going to stick out. Let's see, we have here we go. We have Luke, spotlight on Spurs, man. Good to see you, man. Hope you and the chat are doing well. Yeah, I think we are doing well, man. It's good to have you on board, man. Let's see. Adrian goes on to say, Son has mental Spurs career stats, 3rd or 4th all-time goal scorer. Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. And again, this is not any disrespect to Sonny. I have fond memories of Sonny as well too. And by the way, you know, bang for my buck. You know, Sonny is going to go down as one of the all-time greats. But that being said, you know, you also have to bring it in context as well too, because for the large part of his first career, he was playing next to Harry Kane. And you know, Harry Kane kind of cast a large shadow. And the interesting issue is when Kane left, you know, and Sonny was left on the island. You kind of get a snapshot and glimpse of wondering what would happen if that actually happened earlier, and if you know, Sonny was prepared to actually handle the load for Spurs. And it makes you just wonder whether or not he was actually capable of it, or if his career was enhanced by essentially playing off the shoulder of a dude like Harry Kane. But this is not. I guess today is not necessarily for those conversations. But that being said, it makes me wonder. Let's see. We have Luke. His stats are ridiculous. Yeah, dude. Without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. And he goes on to say, "Hey, Adrian, I hope you're doing well, mate." All right. So the interesting thing for me is that I do remember that Champions League run with Sonny as well too. Unbelievable. I will say that it was interesting to see Sonny being absolutely genuine when it came to that press conference, because I think he did admit that after his first year in England, he was ready to call it quits, but you know, was given some fairly good advice, and you know, he was able to, you know, hang on and develop his career into what it was. But the interesting thing is what happens after this, because I think the report is that I think everybody just assumes that he's going to end up in Major League Soccer. And I would probably assume that is going to be the case because as of right now, LAFC is a team that if they want a player, they are going to do whatever it takes to get that player. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about the functioning of how that's going to work out for you guys, because it's different in the United States than it is in Europe. Because in Europe, for instance, I'll just throw Bayern Leverkusen out there. I heard that name floating out a little bit, that he might return to Leverkusen. Like, if a player wants him, or if a team wants him, they kick the tires on it, they make a bid, and then the player either accepts it or not. And that's just how the straight transfer system in Europe works. In the United States, it's vastly different, and it doesn't necessarily work as simple as that. Where if the team has the cash in order to facilitate a deal, they just bid on it, and that's that, right? And there is no other functioning financial arm to be involved, right? It's agents' fees and all these other things. But in the United States, we have the DP system. And what that means is it's the old David Beckham law, or the old David Beckham rule. When he came over, he was tagged as a designated player, meaning that his salary does not count against the salary cap. And for a while there, every Major League Soccer team had one. It has expanded to 3. And so that allowed teams like Inter Miami to get Messi. It is going to allow LAFC to get Sonny as well, too. And I think Hugo Lloris, the former Spurs captain, goalkeeper, is currently occupying a DP spot in LA, and it would work the exact same way. The only difference is Sonny is also, not only is he a bigger star, but he's also going to be a bigger investment than, say, like a guy like Hugo Lloris. The reality is that Sonny brings an entire fan base that so far has been has not been something that Major League Soccer has been trying to tap in, because they've never really had that type of player that commands that much respect with one massive fan base, right? Spurs did a very good job by tapping into it. Not only were they able to sell tickets, but they were able to sell jerseys, and they essentially turned, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium into something where, you see a lot of South Korean fans in the stands. But also, Spurs became a global brand. And I think Sonny played a very large part in that as well, too, because you go around the world, especially into the Asian markets, you see the cockerel everywhere. And so that is something that Major League Soccer is so heavily influenced by, because they want to tap into that revenue stream, and they want the exact same fans that have showed up for Spurs to show up for LAFC and around the country. So it's something that I think Sonny can leverage, if I'm being perfectly honest. And it definitely makes sense, because they did it with Messi, right? I think a lot of people don't understand exactly how they got that deal done. Lionel Messi makes $50 million a year in Major League Soccer, but his salary is just a small portion of it, right? Because he's being not only paid by Inter Miami, but he's also being paid by the league, and he's also being paid by sponsors as well, too. The Major League Soccer and U.S. Soccer kicked in to get some of their sponsors to kind of foot the bill, and the same thing would happen with Son Heung-min as well, too. And I think it's kind of interesting, right? Because again, how this is going to work is that LAFC is not going to foot the entire transfer fee. That's not how it's going to happen. They might kick in half. They might kick in 20, and the league might kick in 20, and then their sponsors might kick in half in order to facilitate this type of deal. But the reality is, it's going to pay off tenfold, because now they're tapping into a market that they had, that they never else would have put, which means more jersey sales, which means more ticket sales, which means they can market Sonny to a whole new fan base that otherwise wouldn't have even showed up. So in the context of this deal, this is actually an investment on the league, understanding that it only might be for 2 seasons. You know what I mean? Let's keep it real. Sonny's like 33, so he might play for a couple seasons. I highly doubt he's going to stretch this into the age 36, 37 season. I don't think he's going to be around for 4 years. I just unbelievably cannot fathom that, right? This is going to be something where, he's going to play for the rest of the season, because the Major League Soccer season obviously goes from February to early December. as everything goes through the playoffs. And then so it's going to be this season and then probably 2026 as he works his way into the World Cup. Obviously, Major League Soccer will take a break during the World Cup. And then, of course, he'll play with his national team and then he'll finish out the season. And I would probably assume that's probably going to be it. I just can't imagine Sonny's going to hang around for 3 to 4 years. I can't fathom a scenario where that's going to be happening. But that being said, he will be handsomely paid. I would probably assume that he's going to probably be making in the $25 million range. I would probably assume that's the type of cash that he's going to make because, quite honestly, he's deserved the right to get cashed out before he calls it good. But most importantly, for those that don't know, Los Angeles has the largest concentrated population of Koreans in the United States. I think it's LA first, San Francisco two. So he's going to be able to come to LA with a soft landing and have his community around him. Not only to I guess you could say comfort him, but that being said, it's also going to be a market that they're going to tap into. So I think it's now just a race against the clock for both of those entities to try to strike a deal. But that being said, yeah, what's funny is I've heard as Spurs diehards, as Adrian says, he says it's a deal. I hear it's a $15 million deal. I've heard that LAFC and Tottenham have negotiated as high up as like 40 for him. But that being said, if it's as low as 15, I mean that's even better for them. But that being said, for Major League Soccer, it's kind of interesting, right? Because Atlanta paid $20 million for Emmanuel Latte-La of Middlesbrough this last January, right? So. It would strike me curious that he would command a transfer deal that would be less than that, but I don't know, man. A big part of me thinks that it's actually going to be north of $30 million. I could be wrong, but anyway, Adrian does say that Son has a place in all our hearts. Yeah, fans have touched sadness because of his 10 years of contributions, unlike short-term players who leave us feeling angry at being sold. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think for me, the thing that I respect the most about him is that he stayed. That's the thing that I respect the most. Because this is, the business of football has drastically changed since the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's just a different business, right? When it comes to players these days, there is no more loyalty. Because there's also no loyalty from the clubs either, right? It is a business in the true sense of it, right? The Premier League has gotten so corporate now, where there is, I would probably argue that there is no, closeness between club and player, right? Everything is so separated between finances that I just don't think there are any more personal relationships in football. That's not to say that a club doesn't want somebody or won't make them feel like they're at home, but the reality is to them it's an investment, not necessarily a person. That's just the nature of the beast, right? And Sonny chose to stay when it would have been easier. And it would have even been it would have been acceptable for him to leave, right? And when I think about it, and when I think about some of the players that decided to leave, it's understandable, right? They had greener pastures everywhere. Would you fault Gareth Bale, for taking the money and going to Real Madrid? I don't think anybody would. Versus some fugazi, belief that he is supposed to be loyal to the club. I don't think so. And I would probably assume that if you ask him, he probably wouldn't regret his decision. And, if you ask him straight up, like if you could go back and do it all over again, would you do it? I'm sure he would probably say yes, because it's very rare that a team like Real Madrid would come in for, this blue collar dude from Wales. And it's the same thing with Sonny, right? But he made the decision. He made the decision to stay. And I think it was a maybe it even could have been for ego as well too, because I think that the interesting thing is like he wanted to be that guy. to deliver a trophy. That was his goal. That's exactly what he was looking to do, to be that guy to finally break the trophy drought. But that being said, I think that's the reason why he endured himself to fans, because he didn't leave. Harry Kane, I think he got disillusioned with everything that was going on, the constant rotation with the coaches, the ever-changing philosophies. As one coach leaves, a new one comes in. There was just absolutely no stability. And when you get to a point where your club is in chaos, right, the further you get away from actually winning trophies, right? You have a dude that's just, so hungry to win a trophy, and he feels like that, it is slipping out of his fingers. And so he made the conscious decision to say, you know what, man, I'm going to, at least before it ends, I'm going to go win a trophy. And I don't think anybody can blame him. And when you look at that period, that period of time with the Spurs, you can understand exactly why he decided to do it. But then there's Sonny. And Sonny was like, listen, man, I probably could go somewhere and make better money, be in a situation where I can not only win leagues, but also be in a position to potentially win a Champions League. But that being said, the mission is still there. The mission is still there, and that mission is to win Spurs a trophy. Being actually being able to keep that focus in a time of just absolute pure, sheer chaos from the football operations box all the way down to the manager. It was that focus. That's actually the biggest reason why I respect him. The reality, the reality is, I'm sure all of us have been in that position, right? Whether it's personally or professionally, where things aren't as, steady as we'd like them, right? But your focus doesn't waver, right? And I think that actually kind of shows you just the type of person that he is. And to me, that's where the respect comes from. And it looks like with more quality signings, we're going to need a bigger trophy cabinet. Yeah. The interesting thing about that, Adrian, but what's funny is I didn't think there was a preseason trophy on the line. It's funny. I actually just found that out yesterday. I thought it was just, whatever, like a series of friendlies in Asia, but apparently there was a trophy attached to it. I don't know. Anyway, but that being said, of course, that's the reality, man. I respect a lot of dudes that are firm in their beliefs and firm in their stance. And it takes a dude that is comfortable with himself to recognize where his loyalties and where his passion is at. And that was with Tottenham Hotspur. And it's sad, man. It's really sad, because I think everybody realized it last season. We were witnessing a player that was, a shell of his former self. And it came down to, me personally, I think both of them talked. Thomas Frank and Sonny talked as soon as he was hired. And I would venture to say that Thomas Frank asked him straight up, like, what do you picture? How do you picture yourself in this team? And I will let you know where I think. And I think those two tried to hash it out, tried to get on the same page. And I think Thomas Frank straight up told him, the way that I play football is it might be a little bit counter to the way that you play football. And if there's a deal out there to be made, go ahead and make it. And I think that for Sonny, I think you realized that after the trophy celebration that his mission had been fulfilled. Again, man, I think it takes a strong individual to understand, right? Whether or not he still has the ability to do it. Because again, man, Father Time does not lie, man. Father Time is undefeated, and it hits people earlier than some. I think we've seen football players that are going to be able, to stretch it into the age 34, age 35 season before the wheels absolutely fall off. The things that Mohamed Salah is doing right now with Liverpool is just unbelievable, right? But that being said, again, different person. Different person. Different drive, different desire. and he's able to continue to do it while Sonny has slowly, it is what it is, right? Sonny, it just hit him. It happens, man. This is what happens in football, and I'm glad that he recognized it at a time where he wasn't going to fool himself, right? I think that's the biggest thing. You cannot be a parody of yourself at all. You just can't do it, man. You cannot be a parody of yourself because the last thing you want to do is tarnish your legacy. Because I'm going to ask the chat. Let me ask you this question, right? Let's say that Sonny stayed for this year, and it was clear that he couldn't do it, and he was coming on in the last 10 minutes of a Premier League match. Like, that's what it's been reduced to, right? Maybe he gets a cup match against a championship side. Maybe he gets a cup match against the League One side. But when it comes to the Champions League and the Premier League, he just doesn't have the wheels anymore. He just doesn't have the killer instinct to be that high level football player anymore. So the question is would you look at him any differently? I know I would. It would be sad to see it, man. It's like a boxer that's 5 years past his prime, and he's just taking shots for shots' sake. And that his time has passed, right? To me, that would tarnish his legacy a little bit. At least he gets to leave with his legacy intact, and I think that's the most important thing. Absolutely. And I think Major League Soccer is a good step for him. Because, again, it's not the same league as when David Beckham came over in 2007. It's actually a league that favors goal scorers. When you look at the average score of the Major League Soccer game, it's like 4-1, right? The league is structured, the rules are structured to favor attacking teams, right? There's a reason why DPs in DP contracts and target allocation money is spent on the attacking side of the football, and player development is usually for goalkeepers, center backs, and wing backs, right? That's just the reality, right? Major League Soccer has a salary cap for a reason, and Major League Soccer has these rules that set up because they don't want 0-0 type of games. They don't even want 1-1 type of games. They want games where there's action on the pitch. And they want to see the ball in the back of the net, and I think that is going to benefit a dude like Sonny. The only problem that I worry about with him in Major League Soccer is the travel, right? Because it's different in Europe, right? You can go from London to Berlin in 3 hours. You can go from London to Rome in 4 hours, right? Like, everything is so close to each other that you're never going to travel more than 4 hours to get to wherever you need to go. In the United States, it's an 8-hour difference from coast to coast, right? So if you're traveling from Los Angeles to New York, it's like 8 hours, right? And so with so many teams in the league, now there's the good part about it is and the way that the schedules work is that, you're probably going to spend most of your time on one coast or maybe in the central part of the country. And so maybe that's not going to come into effect. But that being said, it's, sometimes travel wears on you. And Leo Messi has already came out publicly and said that he just didn't anticipate the travel in the United States. It's something that he had to get used to. But the other thing is also the speed. The speed of Major League Soccer is something that's vastly different than it was even 10 years ago. With the influx of young South American talent into the league, and the emphasis of ball control and speed, it's now created a league that there's a reason why a lot of European sides are now dipping into Major League Soccer because the talent is just undeniable. So it's going to be interesting to see how he navigates it, right? So it's going to be interesting. The first month, if he does come over within the next couple weeks, and he's unveiled to the LAFC crowd, it's going to be interesting to see how he hits the ground running, and if there is a plan on how to use him, for the first couple weeks. I would probably assume that it's going to be a soft landing for him, and that he's going to be used sparingly at first before they kind of ease him into it. But that being said, Sonny's had a preseason already, so maybe he's ready to go. Who knows? But we have Adrian here who says Sonny will score lots of goals in Major League Soccer. Maybe. I think it's the right league. I think the reality is if he went to the Saudi Pro League, if he went to the Saudi Pro League, he definitely would probably score a lot of goals because, the Saudi Pro League is top heavy, right? It's, the Saudi Pro League is a league that has like 3 really good teams and there's like 40 feet of crap. And then there's the rest of the league where the Major League Soccer, because of the parity, each conference goes 8 teams deep, right? So it's not going to be as easy as a lot of teams expect. But that being said, he's going to the right team in LA. Big name going to a big market. So we'll see how it plays out. But overall, man, I definitely want to thank Sonny. I'm sure today was incredibly hard. I fully expect him to be in uniform tomorrow against Newcastle again. A part of his, I think it's a part of his contract that he has to play. But that being said, what happens afterwards? Because there is another a match in Bayern, in Munich, against Bayern Munich before the Super Cup, right? So that date falls within the 3-week window for Sonny's camp and Tottenham and LAFC to get a deal done, right? So what's going to happen with that one? I have no idea. I would probably assume that tomorrow is going to be it. If I had to take an educated guess, I would say that's it. And I would probably assume that he starts tomorrow as well, too. I would be very surprised if that does not happen. But who knows, man? Who knows? I like to, I when I sit back and I think about it, man, I want to, thank him for the grace, thank him for the class that he showed, not just to the club, but also to the fans as well, too. And I'm curious to know what everyone in the chat thinks as well, too. Like, where does he stack up against the legends? The Martin Shivers of the world, the Jimmy Greaves of the world, the Bobby Smiths of the world, the Glenn Hoddles of the world, right? Harry Kane. Where does Son kind of fall into that? Because I know that a couple guys that I've talked to don't necessarily have him in the top class of Spurs legend. It almost feels like he's in the next tier. I don't necessarily know. But that being said, I also recognize that over the course of the last 25 years, man, there's really only been 3 that really stick out. And that's Gareth Bale, Harry Kane, and Sonny. That's it. Over the course of the last 25 years. And of course, it happens to be coincided the 25 years that I've been watching this football club. But, the reality is it's like, does he deserve a statue 100%? I don't think you can, can argue otherwise. But I'm curious to know what the chat thinks, right? Where does he stand in the, I guess you can say in the annals of, of Spurs legends? Where do you rank him? Is there a favorite memory? I think my biggest memory is when he took it coast to coast, and I think it was against Burnley. Like I really think it was. I think it was. Yeah. Oh yeah. And then Ledley. Yeah, Ledley King for sure. And by the way, what's up, audio artisan? It's good to see you, man. Good to have you in the house. Yeah. The interesting thing is I'm just curious. I wasn't around for Jurgen Klinsmann in the 90s. Wasn't around for Glenn Hoddle. Definitely wasn't around for Martin Shivers and Jimmy Greaves or Bobby Smith. But that being said, I also recognize the history of this club, and I also recognize Sonny's contributions to this club as well too. So I'm curious, man. Let me know in the chat. Absolutely, man. Because I think it's time that the club does recognize the past, right? I think they just recently put up the Bill Nick Gates, which was absolutely brilliant of the club, and now it's time to not only have the museum at the stadium, but I think it's time to start putting up some statues well-deserved statues as well too, because I think that one of the things that I think the club has a responsibility is to recognize those that those that paved the way in history, and also it also has to recognize the contributions of some of these guys that have played over the course of the last 25 years, Sonny being one of them. So I think he deserves a statue. Just saying. But let me know, man. All right, so that's going to do it for me, I think. Yeah, I didn't want to come up. I didn't want to come on for really a full hour. I just wanted to come on and give my 2 cents about it. And I think that Sonny has made the right move by stepping away at this point in time. I think that he is. I think he has finished exactly what he started, which was winning a trophy for this club. The mission has been completed, and he leaves with a tremendous amount of respect from my side. 100%. So that being said, it's going to be interesting to see how these next 3 weeks play out, whether or not he's going to end up in Major League Soccer. And maybe selfishly, I kind of want that to happen, considering that, obviously I'm a big fan of Major League Soccer being here in the United States. But that being said, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. So I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to thank everybody that was tuning into this one. Quick programming announcement that tonight the Leagues Cup live stream will go down at about 7:30 tonight as Orlando City Soccer Club, OCSC, will take on Liga MX side Atlas in the first round of the Leagues Cup. Of course, this is group play. And tomorrow, obviously, we have the Hotspur live stream as Tottenham will take on Newcastle. So a lot of coverage this weekend, not just here in the United States, but also for Tottenham Hotspur as well too. So there's plenty to stick around as we got it all covered, man. We got it all covered. Make sure you hit that subscribe button because again, we're in a race for 1,000 subs. I want to thank Adrian. I want to thank Audio Artisan. I want to thank Luke, man. You guys are awesome, man. You guys are rock stars. And I also want to thank everybody for tuning in. So tonight at 7:30, it is Leagues Cup live stream. And of course, tomorrow morning, starting at 6:30 Eastern, and I believe that's got to be 11:30 UK time as we start coverage of Tottenham versus Newcastle. And of course, the live stream, and then obviously the post-game wrap up as well too here on Stateside Footy. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in, man. Everything is great, man. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you tonight for the Leagues Cup live stream and tomorrow for Tottenham versus Newcastle. You guys have a great Saturday afternoon, or if you're in the UK, a great Saturday evening. And we'll see you soon. Have a great day, guys.
Rusted goalposts under fading